Ilhan Omar refuses to condemn violent rioters, condemns Trump instead. With all the rioting, assaults, vandalism, looting, and arson taking place across the nation, Ilhan Omar is taking the time to stoke the flames and attack President Trump. Over the weekend, she expressed on air with Stephanopoulos that she believes the demonstrations are warranted, and instead of condemning the violence, we should all be focused on President Trump. Omar proceeded to accuse Trump of glorifying violence, referencing comments made by the president thanking Secret Service for their efforts to defend the White House against rioters' attacks. She then demanded we call him out, saying, "We condemn other nations when their president makes those kinds of statements when there's unrest in their countries, and we have to condemn our president at the highest sort of condemnation." Funny enough, this is not the first time Omar has shifted the blame to Trump rather than calling out the real problem. She's been caught several times unable to condemn violence from Antifa, a far-left radical group now being designated as a terrorist organization. The same group many believe are stoking the fires of tension across America in the midst of the George Floyd protests. It's easy to see why Ilhan is choosing to focus on Trump instead of acknowledging the destruction and crime committed by her own radical friends with Antifa. Joe Biden wants cops to shoot people, but only in the leg. During a meeting with African American community leaders on the recent death of George Floyd, gaffe-prone Democrat nominee Joe Biden offered his plan for solving police brutality. He thinks officers need to be trained to shoot assailants in the leg in order to reduce fatalities. The former vice president is quoted as saying, "There's a lot of different things that can change, like teaching a cop when there's an unarmed person coming at him with a knife or something to shoot him in the leg instead of the heart." There's certainly a lot to pick apart in such a ridiculous statement. 1. Biden seems unaware that somebody wielding a knife is not an unarmed assailant. 2. Shooting is generally a last resort when it comes to subduing a criminal with bad intentions. 3. What all of this has to do with George Floyd is anybody's best guess, as the officer in that case did not use any weapon at all. Biden faces quite a bit of criticism for this proposed solution. This coming after last week's controversial comments on black voters probably has his campaign very worried for November. Who knows what Joe will say next? Breaking, Trump's defense secretary weighs in on how to handle nationwide riots. Following public outcry surrounding the increasingly violent nationwide riots, Defense Secretary Mark Esper is finally weighing in. On Wednesday, the secretary told the press that he opposes sending active-duty troops to put down the protests that started in response to the killing of George Floyd. This opinion is in stark contrast to President Donald Trump, who has threatened several times to call in troops if local governments fail to quell unrest. Esper elaborated, saying, "I don't support invoking the Insurrection Act. These measures," he said, "should only be used as a matter of last resort and only in the most urgent and dire situations." For context, the Insurrection Act has been invoked infrequently throughout American history. Most recently, governors demanded the action following severe looting in the aftermath of Hurricane Hugo in 1989 and during the Los Angeles riots of 1992. Though the secretary seems firm in his statement, Americans are growing tired of the unrest. Many are already demanding military intervention, and that number is sure to grow if the situation continues to escalate. Shocking difference in how they treated these two U.S. generals tells you everything you need to know about the media. This week, former Secretary of Defense General Mattis made headlines for criticizing the Trump administration for their reaction to the ongoing protests and riots. Mattis ripped into Trump, calling the president a direct threat to the Constitution and saying, "Donald Trump is the first president in my lifetime who does not try to unite the American people, does not even pretend to try." Predictably, President Trump fired back on Twitter shortly after the comments from Mattis dominated every headline and news alert you could think of. The president tweeted, "Probably the only thing Barack Obama and I have in common is that we have both had the honor of firing Jim Mattis, the world's most overrated general. I asked for his letter of resignation and felt great about it." Conservatives quickly rallied behind Trump to say that they did not respect the divisive comments made by Mattis. Conservative commentator John Cardillo replied immediately to say he was very disappointed in Mattis. Ryan Fournier, leader of Students for Trump, said, "I used to look up to Mattis. That changed today." In the comments of President Trump's tweets, many conservatives pointed out that Mattis was bitter and mourning the loss of his hope for endless war in the Middle East, while commentators like Mark Levin even went as far as accusing Mattis of appeasing rioters. And though Democrats once scrutinized Mattis more harshly than anyone, they are appalled by this reaction from the right. Just 3 short years ago, during his confirmation to the Trump cabinet, liberal reporters went after Mattis on everything. Senator Gillibrand implied he hated women and wouldn't let them serve on the front lines. She even refused to vote for his confirmation as Secretary of Defense. A quick glance at the comments from liberal group Democracy Now! Will show you many leftists also thought he was a racist and a warmonger. And at least one liberal journalist said he loves killing. But now that he's criticizing Trump, the mainstream media has started to label any criticism of Mattis, a former military officer, as dishonorable. Compared to their treatment of another general, Michael Flynn, his behavior is being criticized by many as disingenuous and hypocritical. The liberal media spent years trashing the reputation of General Flynn, literally accusing him of being a foreign agent working on behalf of Russia. But when documents were released just a few short weeks ago that revealed that General Flynn was, in fact, not a traitor and was actually a victim to the political tyranny of Comey's FBI under the Obama administration, the media said nothing to clear the name of the man they spent so much time trashing. A quick Google search shows there are less than 300,000 results for Flynn exonerated, while Flynn collusion still yields almost 1.1 million hits. The coverage is almost non-existent, most likely because it does not fall in line with the political narrative promoted currently by liberals and General Mattis. Need more proof? Just search the quotes from General Mattis this week. They've already produced over 6 million results in less than 48 hours.